Oh, hello, hello, my beautiful broskies and broskies of Maverick Nation. I'm the Doctor the Maverick, and I don't know why, I just feel real ready to kind of revisit this idea. After seeing a couple what ifs, I've kind of gotten this sort of spark to revisit this idea and give it a good old spin, some sort of new and improved version. This is going to be what if Naruto was the Tails Juubii? Basically, what if Naruto was the Juubii? You know, the Juubii being the Tails. Basically, we're basically going to start this off, and towards the very beginning, when basically Kage ate the chakra fruit, and the whole thing with Hagoromo and such, chakra being given to humans. And as you could probably imagine, being a being that's basically like a tree that produces chakra, it would kind of basically like your life essence being ripped away from you and given to others without your permission. That's kind of the situation that the Tails is in right now. Or more or less what is believed to be the Tails, or the Shinju, as what has been stated right now. One of the names of the Tails, the Shinju. Basically, Kaguya and, her sons, which I only know one of their names, and that's Hagoromo, the Sage of Six Paths, basically, once he's received the title and everything. Basically, even, their son, the son of Hagoromo, his sons, Asura and Indra, even they're in this, what exactly is going on? Basically, this huge-ass beast, or at least they would have been in this, and the fact that they would have just been, freaking born whenever the giant Shinju beast would have started to attack the area in which they, would have been residing. And, Kaguya and Hagoromo would basically have gone to resolve the issue. Kaguya, because, it's kind of a matter that concerns her, considering she is the one who ate the chakra fruit from the Shinju. And Hagoromo, because, Hagoromo, given the title of the Sage of Six Paths, he feels he's kind of obligated to do this as well. Find a way to, deal with the Shinju. And basically, in the whole middle of this big-ass, confrontation, there's indeed an oddity. It seems in a very deep, dark cave, in the deep darkness of the deepest darkness of the earth in the earliest times in which chakra was introduced. There was a sleeping being that woke. A being known as Naruto. Or as most that probably would see him now would call him the Juubii. And the Juubii only really knowing the Shinju as a sort of fake version of itself, seeing as it is the one that truly lives and resides underground like that of a tree. It basically deems the Shinju as a fake version of itself. It's kind of pissing it off. I mean, it was having a good old nice dream, and the Shinju has to pull a shit fit and wake it up. So yeah, basically you have the Shinju, you have Kaguya, you have Hagoromo, and now you have this thing called the Juubii. Basically, the Juubii is basically this person. Kaguya and Hagoromo, they basically did not know that there was any other being in the world currently that had the mastery of basically chakra that to this level that, they had before, Hagoromo just decided to, freaking buy one, get one free sale chakra to every freaking person. But, it's kind of like that, but, not on the scale that they had. Like, there was no one, at least in their knowledge, that had the kind of, scale and mastery that they had. Of course, there were others that had chakra, but not to their scale, not to their mastery. Then this Juubii person, whatever the frick they are, comes around, and basically their entire belief system is flapjacked on its head. Because this person seems to even have a better, ability over chakra and pretty much everything than both of them combined. And, then some for, not even freaking miles. Even beyond that. They just seem to be ridiculously powerful. And basically, they basically just look at the Shinju as this sort of fake version of themselves. They're pissed because they see this thing as an imposter of their true image. And so they're just like, okay, now you woke us up, and what we're woke up by is this fake. I mean, this is just pathetic. I mean, this is just not cool. Basically, the being known as the Juubii would basically regress in size and turn into a form like that of, their own. Basically a human form. That kind of still has elements of what Hagoromo and Kaguya are like, the horns and, the color of the skin and, the staff and the ability to freaking fly without even needing to freaking try. Did not mean for that to rhyme. Anyways, there's all these ridiculous Otsuki powers this person has. And apparently, he's like, my name. Like Kaguya's like, who the frick are you? And basically, Haguruma would be about to speak, and, this person would be like, just talk to the hand and be like, my name is Naruto. Though, you and your other people, may call me the Juubii. The true 10-tailed beast. Be like, Grah! And kind of will just beat the ever-living, everything and also nothing at the same time out of the freaking Shinju. And just until the cows came home and even beyond that. To the point where the Shinju were just like anything in order to get the torture to stop. Like, you guys don't even understand. The Juubii is freaking hype as hell. Like, ridiculously powerful. The Juubii, with his real name being Naruto, but, just saying, my name is Naruto, but you can call me the Juubii. Basically, yeah. And as the Juubii would kind of fall back asleep after the sealing of the Shinju was done, basically, the Juubii's power would kind of start to separate, like certain spears of the power kind of separate and be flung in every which direction. And basically, the last words of the Juubii would be that those powers should indeed be known as Biju or tailed beasts. Though, despite the name, tailed beast, they are not to be treated as such. They are not to be treated as monsters. They are to be treated as equal, regardless of whatever destructive capability they may have. Like, kind of the whole circle of life thing, like, what is an ant compared to a human? What is a human compared to a freaking T-Rex? Regardless of whatever scale, like, a tailed beast is compared to a human. Like, regardless of wherever they are on the scale, they're still to be considered, equal. As equal beings. So, one of the many taboos that the Juubii makes, like, basically one of the many things that the Juubii sets as many different taboos. One of the taboos being, basically binded, and, be made to use for whatever purpose, like, the person binding the tailed beast would want. And we all know a certain, Madara Uchiha, how, like, even Hashirama basically just gave the different elemental villages, like, freaking tailed beast to use for their own means. So yeah, it didn't exactly seem like many people listened to that advice. But basically, that's one of the many taboos, is doing exactly that. Like, not only binding the, Biju, but, making them beings used for war. That's not the purpose. So by using them for that purpose, seeing as they're not supposed to be used for that purpose. That's not what they were made for. That's kind of, a big taboo in, the Juubii's point of view. And since the Juubii is kind of the entire reason why the tailed beasts even exist, the Juubii literally being their father. Yes, that is literally shown. Like, the Juubii is literally the father of all the tailed beasts, seeing as it is because of the Juubii that they were even created. Basically, because they were just dispersed out from the very existence of the Juubii before they finally fell asleep after, remarking to Hagoromo and Kaguya about the different taboos. But, seeing as, how human history has shown, nobody seems to really have given a shit about the different taboos. Because if they did, a lot of the things that happened wouldn't have happened. And so the point we're basically at now in the story is, well, indeed. After many millennia of kind of just sleeping the entire, like all of history off, kind of just sleeping all of history away. Kind of just like after like a bunch of millennia of just doing that. Finally, just to make sure that, it doesn't like get stuck like that, like, and you like get a crick in its neck. Because like the genie in Aladdin, like, 10,000 years will give you a like crick in the neck. Like, Robin Williams. Bless that man's soul. He was a real comedic genius. And basically, that's kind of the only reason that the Juubii ever woke up in the first place. And Juubii just, wakes up and decides, well, it will be fun just to fuck with the people of this natural world order, or at least what they decided to make the natural world order, like their natural world order, and to see just the reaction of the people as just makes that natural world order just crumble to pieces right before their very eyes with the power of the Juubii. And along the road, kind of reabsorb into the power, or maybe not even really doing that. Actually, the Juubii, more or less, Juubii actually thinks of an even better idea. Instead of, like, reabsorbing the power, like, taking away the very life force of the Bijou, like, literally killing them, there is actually seems to be more of a peaceful way of going about things. Instead of, like, taking away their entire life force back into itself, like something very selfish and mean, the Juubii actually decides, nah. Plus, it's also very boring if I were to just float around and doing that to every Bijou I see. Plus, some of them are real fun. Not all of them are really all that fun, but some of them are. Besides, some of them, they're not that all that fun because some of them sometimes just get in bad moods. Big old Shikaku Grumpy Pants. Who knows? May just run into certain in particular ones that I find interesting. So, my true name. If I were to just, shout the title of Juubii, like the nickname I decided to allow the humans to call me by, that would be bad. Because, Juubii is sort of a more, like, worldwide known name. Like, what the humans call the Juubii incident. Basically, whenever, Kaguya and Haguruma were fighting the Shinju, and then the Juubii just comes along, turns into its human form, and kicks the shit out of the Shinju. That's basically what was considered the Shinju incident in all of human, like, recorded history. And, well, seeing as everyone freaking knows about that, basically, we all know who decides that would be a very bad idea to go around calling themselves, their nickname. Not that I said the humans could call them. So instead, seeing as it's, kind of less known, because, there was indeed a nickname, that we're allowed to call. So it probably would indeed be less known And probably even if people did know, they probably wouldn't even care all that much. Regardless. So yes, basically they would go underneath the guise of like the exact opposite of incognito. They would go under the guise of their actual real name, Uzumaki. And they would implant themselves as life energy, life essence into a certain person. Basically, they would see this lone orphan boy, in the middle of this time of war, and as he would grow up and, meet along the way this, kind of girl from this place that just got screwed over, like Uzushiogakure, was it? This boy being Minato Namikaze, basically this life essence would soon as, the two would grow to, basically husband and wife and all that jazz. Basically, whenever they'd be doing the nasty, transfer over to Kushina, and that is whenever she would become pregnant, and the life essence would transfer into the new born child, whenever it finally is indeed born. Basically, that's how the literal super god would be reborn. And if you don't believe me whenever I say super god, literally Kaguya and freaking Hagoromo were like shitting themselves trying to figure out a way to get rid of the freaking Shinju, and the Juubii just went over there and kicked its ass, no freaking problem. Well, except for the problem of the fact that it woke it up, and that's why it was even doing that in the first place. Getting involved in the matters of simple mortals. I emphasize that mortals. Because, basically, unlike how Hiden and Kakuzu couldn't die, because, their whole thing, it actually is indeed true that because of the ow because of the Juubie's status, it basically literally is 120% immortal and eternal. So yeah, no getting rid of it. In any form. In beast form, in human form, no getting rid of the freaking Juubii. So yeah, and basically, it would also be a big old fun game of trying to figure out how exactly to hold back so that it doesn't automatically kill whoever it just merely pokes. Like just by merely poking someone, it doesn't make them explode. And basically, the closest being you can really sense that as the name and guide of Juubii, not Juubii, but Biju, Tail Beast, is that of Kurama, because of the whole Ninetales attack. And basically, Minato, whenever he's doing the whole sealing thing, using the Ripple Death Seal, he believes, he's sealing half of the Biju, but actually, due to the Juubie's powers, Minato isn't aware of this, but he actually, basically, the Juubii actually is that really wouldn't be fair if it was only half. And plus, if it was only half, the other half would end up dead. And, the Juubii doesn't like that idea, so basically just sucks up the entire Ninetales without Minato actually knowing. And, well, the Shinigami King really doesn't even give a shit. because it more or less cares about the morals it kills, not really the tail beasts. Plus, I mean, the Shinigami King knows its boundaries. It would probably know not to piss the Juubii off. And, it could probably sense the power of the Juubii and how the Juubii did not want the Nine Tails, like any part of it, to be killed. And so, even if it was able to sense, it wouldn't interfere with that whole thing. So regardless, Naruto would actually get the full Nine Tails because, the full Nine Tails is actually part of him because this Naruto is Juubii Naruto, a beast that is truly powerful and just super crazy awesome. Just mad ladness. And basically, whenever Kurama is finally, not, cut in half anymore, and, finally realizes, wait, we're not split anymore, like, we're the entire us. And wait, where exactly we are? Wait, we're inside of, and then you just hear a voice like, yes, the essence again, the essence of the Juubii, my essence. And, we'll just see the human form of the Juubii right in front of them, and we'll be like, Father! And be like, do the whole kowtowing thing, bowing down. That's basically what that's calling whenever you bow your head down all the way down to the floor, kowtowing. And basically, what basically, try to do best version of kowtow it could possibly do, best version of kowtowing possible for its own self. Just imagine a fox trying to pull off a kowtow, being able to do it kowtowing. And that's kind of the situation Kurama's trying to do. And this is full Kurama, not half Kurama. And well, Juubii's just like, interesting. I can tell that because of the way that these mortals work, things aren't exactly going to be all that non-tensionous. In other words, not many people are really going to like us. Though, not as easy and okay to deal with. We don't really need all that much help anyways. Because you see, my friend, it is called creation of all things for a reason. Plus, with your help, it makes it even easier. Where we don't have to use nearly as much energy. If we had to use any at all, that is. Just showing just how powerful the Juubii, even in human form, is. And basically, would basically, the Nine Tails, even though, Nine Tails is usually famous for being more grumpy, but, regardless, the Nine Tails knows its place, would regard the Juubii as, Tusan, or, father, or whatever sort of honorific you want to use for that whole thing. Because, the Nine Tails, even the Nine Tails knows, what the Juubii technically is to all of them. Technically, because the Juubii did indeed give up a lot of its energy, well, at least what mortals would think would be a lot of its energy, even though to the Juubii it was just kind of like giving blood. It didn't really matter. In the scheme of things, it didn't really matter all that much. But, just letting Kurama know, things aren't exactly going to be all that easy. So, buckle up, because until things get more interesting, they're just going to be the way they're going to be. Yet, however, seeing as Kurama's respect for Juubii, isn't going to be nearly as stingy with chakra. So chakra control will come a lot easier to this version of Naruto. Juubii Naruto. Jubito. Not really Jubito, because, that's more like Juubii Jinchuriki. Obito, whenever people say Jubito, I'm just saying Juubii Naruto. It would come, like chakra control would come a lot easier to him. A lot of things would actually come a lot easier because of the Nine-Tails Fox actual willingness to share chakra with, chakra control with that of the Juubii, because Juubii, regardless of how powerful it actually is, still has to kind of deal with the limitations of a childlike body of Naruto Uzumaki at the age that he's at. And so for quite some time, there's gonna kind of be like this back and forth with the Juubii and with the full Ninetales now. So things are gonna be weird. But on the plus side, because of the sort of relationship that the Juubii has with the full Ninetales, you could indeed say that Naruto could indeed become a sort of fox sage instead of toad sage, because of the deep interconnection with that of the Nine Tails. And, because of that interconnection, could indeed say a lot more things would come a lot more naturally over time, that is, over time. And so, around the time that it finally is time for, the old graduation, and then the whole thing with Mizuki, and basically, but finally the time of the moment where Naruto finally freaking actually does indeed graduate, and gets his headband, and basically, this would finally be the time whenever, the Juubii would be like, Kurama, because the Juubii, would like to use its own sort of honorifics, which for it is basically just using their actual names. Like, for the Nine-Tailed Fox, it's Kurama, because that's its real name. And, for whatever tailed beast it is, it would use the real name of that tailed beast. So, one tail, it would use the name Shukaku. Two tail would be Nanatabi. Three tail would be either, is it Isobu or Imosu? I forget. And for the four tails, it would be Son Goku. And for the five tails, it would be Kokuo. For the six tails, it would be Saiken. For the seven tails, it would be Chome. For the eight tails, it would be Yuki. And the nine tails, where is that? Kurama. And itself being known as, itself as, the more Bijus that, Naruto will eventually come into interact with, the more and more power will be, unresigned. Because after creating all the different Bijus, basically, the Juubii basically resigned power. And basically, by, meeting up with all the Bijus, it will, unresign all the power the more Bijus Naruto meets. Jinchurikis that Naruto meets, because that will be the more Bijus that technically Naruto will have met. And technically by the time Naruto meets all of the other Bijus, it will, be full power finally. And whenever that finally happens, oh boy. It's like George Takei. Freaking George Takei. Oh my. Anyways, how long's he gonna dust this good action? Remember, because OUT out here, you boys like, favorite, subscribe, something in the comment section. I'm a bounce like a squidge in my blue suede shoes. Yeet no yeet. Mr. Action. Deuces.